Welcome into the Landon Tengwall Show. This is my weekly Monday video where I watch James Franklin's 45-minute presser where he says a lot of things that might be kind of boring to most of you. I then give you guys the meat and potatoes within the hour of it ending. Now, real quick, we will have a couple things coming out today. Oregon offensive film breakdown is going to be out like mid-afternoon, and then live call-in show, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I want to hear from all you guys. Oregon fans, of course, are welcome to some West Coast calls. We'll see if we have it. No paywall, just Tengwall. Content you guys will not get anywhere else. I promise you that. I am grinding for all you guys, Oregon fans as well. We're bringing you every piece of content that I possibly can. Hit that subscribe button if you are enjoying and want to stay up to date. All right, James Franklin just had his presser. This has probably been one of the biggest topics for Oregon and Penn State fans, and I think it's a huge misconception. It falls under the same category of people that think that there's big adjustments that are made at halftime. The same thing is thought that through these first 3 or 4 games for Penn State and Oregon, that because both teams played low-level opponents, that they were being incredibly vanilla with their play calling and not showing much of their playbook has been the thought. I told you guys that's not a real thing. That just doesn't happen. Having been in a college football offense, you run what you run. Yes, and so James Franklin was asked about this, and he said, yeah, there's really no such thing as being vanilla or holding back plays when you are even playing, Villanova. Now, what he went on to say is, yeah, there's plays that we are going to run or formations or even schemes against Oregon that you haven't seen yet, but that wasn't us necessarily holding back 25% of our playbook. That was us saying, hey, we have certain things that we don't even think work, or we don't want to even try against Villanova and FIU because it doesn't work against what they present, let's say on defense. Let's say, FIU is just a 4 down front, and we say, hey, we're just going to run gap scheme at that all day. And you look at Oregon's defense, and you're saying, what they present, I don't really want to run gap scheme. So, yeah, you might see more gap scheme this weekend, or you might not, but it's just because of what the opponent is giving you. It's not that, yeah, we're not going to run 30% of our plays because we want to hide stuff from Oregon. It's not a real thing. That's what game planning is. Game planning is taking your offense identity or defense and saying, okay, we watched the tape. Now, how do we want to sculpt out our game plan and figure out what works best against this opponent? And yeah, you might add in 2 to 3 wrinkles of, hey, their guy does X, so let's add in a wrinkle of where our guy does Y when we see that. That's real, but that's game planning. That's not saving 50% of your playbook. So this goes for Penn State and Oregon alike. It's not a real thing. So if you keep thinking that, Will Stein has held back a ton of his playbook, he is not. And you're going to see that here in a couple hours, that he's actually let it all hang loose. There is a ton of stuff for this Penn State defense that they are going to have to figure out and basically study and be ready for. He's put a lot on tape. So just wanted to put that out there and clear that up. That is not a real thing. People do not save half of their playbook. We are going to see some new things, though. That is a real thing. Both teams are going to scheme up their offense and defense to best fit what they are going to see on Saturday night. All right, something that Franklin was very clear about to start. He was impressed with how multiple Oregon's offense and defense is. That's what I mean. They have shown a lot. Now on defense, you see 3 down, 4 down, 5 down. You see different coverages that are mixed in. You have a lot of different play calls and really just like combo blocks and different rules. Every play, a player on the field, offensive line, quarterback, wide receiver, you have rules and you have to read the defense, and basically what they show you then tells you, okay, I need to go to my rule book in my head and this is what I'm going to do. Well, that rule book in your head gets a lot harder when there is a million different things that defense or offense presents to you. So I think that's something that has been really impressive from what I've seen on tape from Oregon too. Same thing on the offense. They do a ton of different things. They do a ton of jet motions. They have a lot of different things they do in the run scheme. I mean, they'll run counter. They'll run pin and pull. They'll run outside zone. We've pretty much seen it all. Will Stein is very multiple. So what do you do when you are very multiple and you have really talented players? You kind of put it all out there and make the opposing team have to get ready for everything. And one of the players that makes it easy for Oregon to do that is tight end Kenyon Sadiq, who, by the way, you will not see Kenyon Sadiq in the Oregon offensive film breakdown this afternoon. That is because I am doing a full Kenyon Sadiq film breakdown on Thursday because I think he is the best tight end in all of college football, and I want to do a full dive into not only what he can do and what he brings to the field for Oregon, but just how much Will Stein moves him around and how Penn State has to be ready for all that from a blocking standpoint and also just from a versatility and receiving standpoint for Kenyon Sadiq. So, just a mauler in the run game. Like I said, you're going to see it, but they'll pull him a ton on counter. He loves to block. I mentioned in my pregame show that he wants to finish you off through the whistle. Got to keep your composure. If this guy's driving you into the dirt and tries to give you a little mush, mush the face mask into the ground, do not get up and hit him because that is what he wants. Same thing with Oregon's other tight ends. They are vicious and they want to finish guys off. So something to keep in mind there. But yeah, someone that'll just literally hurdle you as a tight end and then bear you in the run game. It's one of the more impressive things I've ever seen. Now, Franklin got into some scheme things as far as Penn State's team is concerned. He mentioned over the bye week that Penn State worked on hurry-up offense. He said a couple other things, but that was my main takeaway. I heard that, and I said, okay, Penn State's going to mix in a healthy dose of hurry-up against Oregon. I can almost guarantee it, and I think the place you'll see that the most is if Penn State hits a gash, an 8-yard gain, a 12-yard gain. I would expect them from time to time to boom, let's go hurry up. That's a big tendency for Penn State. They hit a 15-yard strike over the middle. Let's get on the ball. And generally it's been a run play, but sometimes you can do that and then take a shot play, throw it deep. But overall, if you see a fairly explosive play, especially early on, I wouldn't be shocked to see us, boom, get right into up-tempo, hurry-up offense and try to keep that Oregon defense on their heels. Don't give them time to adjust or get set and just, boom, keep going. Now, on defense, James Franklin kind of mentioned last year. He said we were super one-dimensional in the fact that Tom Allen, shout out Tom Allen at Clemson, my God, I mean, talk about getting gashed. That guy's having a bad time down there. Dabo Swinney said it was like at halftime, they did the halftime interview with Dabo Swinney. He said it was like the worst defensive performance he's ever seen. I got great enjoyment out of that. If you follow the channel, I have my beef with Clemson where I did film breakdowns on them on Twitter. They went viral. They basically banned my film breakdowns on Twitter, got Twitter to take them down. And I think I've been told that I'm not welcome in Clemson Stadium. So that's all good. They can keep it. It doesn't seem like they will have any interesting games coming up anyways. But all right, so Tom Allen last year was very one-dimensional. And what he did is ran a ton of man coverage and very rarely switched it up. I'm bad, dude. I'm bad at bringing up bad games for Penn State. But go back to that Notre Dame in the semifinals game. We put Riley Leonard, Notre Dame's quarterback, in a blender with our cover 2 defense. He threw he threw a pick. He should have thrown a second one, and he was struggling against that. And then we come out on that second to last drive for Notre Dame, and we go man-to-man press coverage, and we get burnt over the top. We all know what happens. Greathouse breaks down 2 of our guys, touchdown. We need to be able to be comfortable to say, hey, we're going to sit back in zone when we need to and, allow our defense not to be in press man coverage. Now, it's not to say we won't run that. We run a lot of cover 1 robber. That is where you're man-to-man. You have a high safety, and then you have an intermediate kind of zone defender as well that's covering the intermediate over middle of the field, and then the high safety, the deep middle of the field. So we still do a lot of that, and I think Dante Moore is going to see some of that, and that's why I told you guys be on the lookout for back shoulder throws from Dante Moore. That's something we're going to see on the film breakdown today that I'm going to show you guys. But it seems like we have an ability to be more versatile, and then in turn, as I talked about earlier, that makes Oregon have to prepare for a lot more. Because if you come into a game and you say, hey, they're going to run man coverage 80% of the time, well, guess what you come in with? You come in with a ton of man beaters, and you know what you are getting. If you come in and you say, hey, they run cover 2, they run man, they run cover 1 robber, you're going to see some cover 6 out of them. That's quarter to the field, and then to the boundary, you have a 1 high. There's a lot of different things that you have to prepare for if you are seeing a multiple style defense. And that's what Jim Knowles starts to present, the ability to bring pressures out of zone and all that stuff that we did not see last year. So those are things that I think are going to get mixed up a little bit and hopefully make Will Stein a little bit, slow him down a little bit, because we're going to need to do that. This is a fast-paced Oregon offense. Excuse me. My God, a lot of talking today. Last thing, Franklin talked about as much just this kind of defensive rotation. It's a lot of defensive rotation for Penn State in the first 3 games. He said that is going to kind of be cut out, and we are going to see really just more 1s and 2s only, which I think is to be expected. The number one thing I want to watch, be careful when we put in our second string defensive tackles. I'm looking at Xavier Gilliam. I'm looking at Ty Blanding. Those guys looked fine early on against lower level offensive line play, that's something I want to be careful with. These Big Ten offensive line, Oregon is physical as all get out. They run duo, which is like inside zone, and they just want to get downhill and bang you. Their center is great at just boom, just banging, like hitting that hip and just bouncing defensive tackles out of there. That's even something you got to watch with Zane Durant. I think Alonzo Ford a little less. Zane Durant's a little light. I'm going to be honest with you. As much as he is a fantastic talent, and I think one of the most unique players in college football, he got moved off the ball a good couple times early in this season against FIU and company. So that's something to be on the lookout for, is these defensive tackles, especially the young ones, versus the interior of Oregon's offensive line. That's a matchup that if Oregon can win, that starts to hurt Penn State, because Oregon gets into a lot of play action, and if they are running the ball well downhill, you start to run play action, and those linebackers have to start to come up and respect the play action, and then boom, you're darting it over the top. We saw that a lot in the Big Ten Championship. They ran the ball fairly well, and that opened up a ton of play action and deep crossers for Dillon Gabriel. That's something that Penn State needs to be aware of and make sure that they are cognizant that, hey, we're going to get play action, and we cannot let them get downhill in this run game. All right. That is everything. I appreciate you guys tuning into this one. Like I said, we will have Oregon offensive film breakdown later today, 7:30 p.m. live call-in show. Tomorrow, we got Oregon full defensive film breakdown. And then we're going to do, I'm going to have, you guys know him. His name's QB, I think it's QB11 on Twitter for Oregon. He does film breakdowns. He's one of the only guys, I think, over on Oregon that really knows ball. We're going to have him on the channel. He's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be great conversation for us to kind of go back and forth of what we both seen on tape between both teams. So appreciate you guys tuning in this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Peace.